Join me in this eternal moment as I dive deep into the collective consciousness to bring forward an important message for this present moment. Welcome to today's channel session. Now, today I want to talk about pain and what exists beyond pain. I want to talk about the reality beyond the representation of your ego, what lies beyond and beneath the pain and suffering that your ego tries to defend you from. And this is important because the ego occupies an important role within your psyche, within your psychology, aims to to protect and to preserve. Now this is important because it is trying to establish a sense of identity, and it wants to maintain the identity regardless of new information and new stimulation through an emotional, mental, or spiritual domain, because we're all changing and experiencing differences in our emotional, mental, and spiritual states as we move both in the micro throughout the day and the macro through the years. It's natural. But the ego is slow on the uptake. It's resistant, it's sluggish, it's built on outdated software, and ultimately you have to update it. And that process is challenging, that process is difficult, and we often take the easy route of not doing this, of succumbing to comfort, of succumbing to that outdated identity. So, and that's where the spiritual awakening, that's where the spiritual practice comes in, because the spiritual awakening ultimately is unearthing what exists beyond the egoic identity, the preservation of the egoic presupposition that is built on your history. Again, the history, the outdated software needs to be updated with the new stimulus, i.e. the present information and present data in the form of mental, emotional, or spiritual. And it is up to you, i.e. the consciousness, i.e. the awareness, to discern when to update the ego software. Because obviously not all information is going to be good information. Some information you're going to need to say, okay, this is new information, but it's not worth going through the process of upheaval of the ego, which is not comfortable and is chaotic. And you will remain in that state of comfort and a state of preservation, i.e. preservation of that egoic identity, and you will carry on, whether it's that day or whether it's that year. Again, the awakening process won't happen every day, or it won't go on. It will be a spontaneous. It's not a singular event. It's not a singular moment. It's just this processes that occur spontaneously and for a spontaneous duration. You know, you may have an intense moment of insight, of new information that happens in an hour. It transforms you in that moment, and then you have to sort of integrate that information over a period of weeks and months. Maybe it's years. Maybe you go through it for a year, and then that data cools down, and then the information cools down, and it happens again a few years down the road. It's important not to think about these things as sort of a linear or a singular moment. If you're truly open to the spiritual way, then there will be multiple experiences of this kind where you will be exposed to new information, and most people will resist it. But if you are taught to be open to this new information, then you more likely are going to continue that process, where in the future you have these new insights, this new exposure to new information. You're going to integrate it. You're going to choose discomfort over comfort. You're going to update the egoic software, and you're going to integrate new information. Ultimately, you were channeling from your spiritual self, from your eternal self. Now, again, this is for everyone. It's different for everyone. It has their own process, their own circumstances that dictate their spiritual awakening, that dictate their psychological evolution and growth. So don't look to others and be like, oh, right, well, it's going to happen over the course of X amount of time and it's going to deliver X amount of results. It's a never-ending process, and it will occur in moments unpredictable. I myself am always in my mind in these moments where you feel you're integrated or you're coming in contact with something new and your mind's clamoring for certainty, and so you project and ideas and occurrences or a state of the future which you can rely on, but ultimately it's futile and they never pan out the way you expect or hold on to. So it's important to sort of surrender to the process, or the processes, because if you're a true metaphysical practitioner, you will understand this is not a one and done. Oh, I've done it now, I've done the spiritual awakening, I'm done. No. It is an eternal process, and in this life and the next, in this moment, and in a moment in the next year or next 3 years, you're going to need to update your software, update your egoic identity through these spiritual awakening processes, i.e. the chaos and the order duel for growth. The ego wants stability, but the spirit wants transformation. You want to be on the cusp of both. You don't want to be completely in comfort or completely in discomfort. Although in specific moments you are going to oscillate heavily in either direction. But generally speaking, as a metaphysical practitioner, you want to be centered on balance over an extended period of time. So over time, you want that kind of nice equilibrium between, you have that stability where you can create and you have order in your life, but then you also have that chaotic spiritual aspect where you're on the cusp of transformation, where you're integrating and updating new information, where you're integrating new information to update your present presuppositions and egoic identity. And that process isn't pretty, isn't comfortable, it isn't pleasant, but it is, if you are committed to the spiritual way, to the metaphysical way, to true transformation, to unearthing your true power, it will be through this process I've just outlined. So I mean, it's important to not look for instant results or instant gratification as well, because it very much requires the individual, the practitioner, to be patient, because when you're working in a job or a business, you can map it out roughly and you can expect certain results within certain times. But with this, as I said, in previous lives, in this life and the next life, the reason you're watching this video and the reason why you undertake the process of the metaphysical practitioner, integrating these spiritual awakenings, these spiritual exposures to new information, is because you understand that it's not a singular moment, it's not a singular lifetime, it's an eternal process that you are transforming and creating and evolving. So patience, again, patience, the most challenging part of it all, amongst all the chaos and all the suffering and all the pain and all the integration, all the turmoil and all the chaos. It's the patience which is the real, the real rub. Because you're just, you want something tangible now, here, but it won't come in the way you expect. That's another thing you need to accept, is that things will not occur in the way you expect. And that's often for the better, to be quite honest with you, because the ego and the intellect the ego and the intellect lack imagination. You expect all these things, they don't happen, and you get upset. But ultimately, if you accept it, that it hasn't happened the way you want it to or expect it to, if you truly accept that and live that acceptance, things transpire in a much more positive direction. Trust me. Because you're acting beyond the limits of the mind. I mean, the intellect can only process so much data, whereas your spiritual part, your spirit, is eternal. You're tapping into the collective consciousness. You're tapping into abundance, true power, true creativity. And that is what the metaphysical practitioner looks to achieve through living in a cusp of order and chaos, through mind and spirit, through earth and heaven. So be patient. But again, the patience will take practice, and the process will take. If you're watching this video, you'll watch it because you resonate, because this message speaks. So within you, you'll know what to do intuitively, and you'll pick up on these things. And it is important for you to, in your own lives, to communicate to certain people these same messages, because I'm not saying something new. This is not something original or revolutionary. It's a reminder of a simple truth in the present moment, in a pressing moment, in fact, because again, we have been convinced, otherwise we've been convinced that the answers lie in escaping our pain, escaping our truth, because behind pain is purpose, behind pain is revelation, behind pain is truth. If you can just stick it out and listen to what is behind the pain, that's what slaying the dragon is all about. That's what that story, the archetypal story, is about, is slaying the dragon, retrieving the gold. You got to face the pain, because the pain was seen like a dragon. It was seen like this overwhelming monster that is so loud and so scary, and it's so painful, which it is. But if you can just stick with it long enough to integrate it, to let it simmer, that you can see beyond it, see what it's protecting, see what the ego is protecting, because the ego is protecting its identity. But beyond this outdated identity is a transformed identity. Oh boy. And that's where the gold is at. That's where the transformation is at. That's where the transcendence is at. That's where the true creativity and power is at. Oh, then you're really convinced and reminded of what is within you, what you've done previously, what you will do in other lifetimes, and what you will do in this lifetime. And you start to open your eyes to, okay, this makes sense now. The patience now makes sense. The comfort and discomfort, being on the cusp of both, makes sense. The balance makes sense. The metaphysical way makes sense. I'm here. Why am I here? Makes sense. And it starts to click, and you start to listen, and you start to rhyme, and you start to flow, and you start to sing. And lo and behold, before you know it, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, you start to surround yourself with beauty and transformation, and you start to sing, and you start to dance, and you start to just, it's beautiful. And then you start to inform other people of how they can achieve it. You start to remind people of the simple truths in the present moment, because again, this is all within us. It's not it's something that humanity has been in touch with thousands of years, and hopefully, well, you have to assume will do, even if they are smaller numbers at the present moment, doesn't mean we can't increase the percentage over time. So again, patience. All will be revealed to those that are willing to wait, to delay gratification, to say no to hedonism and escapism. Of course, from time to time, you want to help yourself out. You want to have comfort. You want to maybe indulge in a bit of relaxation. Of course, it's fine. If your life is only relaxation, is only comfort, is only hiding from the pain, is only constant, instant gratification, then you hide and you put a blanket and you succumb to the dragon, because the dragon is too much for you. But you must enter the arena slay the dragon, retrieve the treasure, find your power. And with that, good luck. Bye.